Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts,
Archlector George,
and Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of the Age of Madness trilogy with A Little Hatred, and we cover sore spots and full of sad stories. So let's get started. Oh, folks, as usual, we got to thank you for your support. And while your poor Lord Chamberlain is dealing with being under the weather, if you can't hear it in my voice.
Jeffrey, would you mind saying I'm Batman?
I'm Batman.
Perfect.
You piece of shit. We just want to thank you for your continued support. You're going to hear this in the next episode as well, because we're recording these two back to back. So my voice is going to sound the same for at least a couple episodes. But yeah, we just want to continue. We want to thank you all for just continuing to interact with us, to support us. We've seen a pretty good last few weeks of listenership, right, Georgie?
we had that one insane day where it just went up to like 500 in one day. And then since then, it's just kind of dropped off back to normal. But that was pretty nuts. So yeah.
Hey, Josh, thanks for rewatching all the episodes twice again that one day.
In one day, appreciate it. We love it so much. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, for your continued support, and we love you almost as much as it seems as you love us. So, or actually, it's probably the other way around. So, we are gonna go ahead and just get right into it. And our first chat. Well, first segment is our community interaction segment. As you know, the Little Hatred memeing every chapter extravaganza is up and running on the House of the Meme Maker subreddit. Please get your sorry asses on over there and sign up for any free chapters. There are enough for people to sign up, right, George?
Mm-hmm. Plenty. Still loads left. So go ahead.
So we're gonna start calling people out by name. And I don't know how that's going to work, but I am depending on the Archlector and his Inquisition to inquisit and figure that out.
I'm pretty sure that's doxing it. So, no.
Well, we will dox then. So you don't want to be doxed now, do you? Sign up for the damn memeing every chapter.
We've already been banned from Reddit. We don't want to get banned from the whole internet.
Can that happen? I would do it.
So with that, let's move on to our first chapter read through, which is Sore Spots. And this is mainly a Savine chapter. And it's broken up into basically three parts, right? It's first off, what do you guys think about her her dynamic with Artie, her Maja?
I think that, like, first of all, this is the first time we see Artie back inside this new trilogy. And I love that it's just basically she's like the same person essentially, but she's also a mother now. She's still like drinking day and night. She's still clever. She's still wanting a conversation. Like, they have this little exchange. Like, it doesn't seem like they get to see each other very much. Like, kind of like how Galacta and her have their little fencing matches where, well, she comes up and sees, her mom every now and then and they chat. But obviously Savine is very busy. She does the typical mother things like, how'd you get that bruise? Oh, you're so ridiculous. You shouldn't be hurting yourself. But I
love the whole bit with Artie telling Savine just to marry somebody that's just convenient. It's just like marry a handsome man that looks good, and then at least you won't have any issues. Or like marry a rich man that's into men.
Right.
Was that your? And Savine's like, was that your plan? It's like, yeah, but they were all out, so I had to get the crippled mastermind instead.
It's one of my favorite, so anecdotes is like, I had to marry the crippled mastermind. But I think that this, there are so many little moments like this, like the classic Joe Abercrombie sweet moments that I think people forget about, and this is one of them, which she goes, and I haven't regretted a day of it. I think she's kind of like, she seems like, oh, is she bitter about marrying Galactus? She's kind of giving herself a hard time. She's like, oh yeah, I had to marry this mastermind, but I've never regretted a day of it. I think that is so sweet. Honestly, it's we don't even hardly even see
I don't
them
think
together.
once in this whole trilogy.
Yeah, not that we see. So it's pretty cool that they still have that connection.
Yeah, I really like what you said about the not regretting a day of marrying Glocta. I mean, obviously she's smiling at that giant ass, wedding ring when as she says it, but and I like their dynamic too. Like obviously they make each other laugh, and you can see like how Artie gets a little like, "Oh no, you have to leave already." When Zuri comes in and it's like, "Hey, we got business dealings." Sabine's like, "I got business to do." She goes, "Oh man, but I had like 100 nasty comments, on about other people, in the barrel, ready to make you laugh." Because apparently she made Savine laugh so loud or so much that snorted wine through her nose, which is hilarious.
Yeah, we don't get to see Savine loosen up. And similarly, with Artie, presumably she's got some other people that she's made connections with, people who now, because of her position, who they have to speak to her. But obviously, it's still Artie. She's still kind of self-isolating, still kind of is lonely. And she's also very intelligent and doesn't like to she finds it entertaining to talk to people dumber than her, but she finds it like annoying. So getting to talk to somebody of the same intellect level and it be her daughter and all that, I think is actually very meaningful for her because she doesn't really get that. I would imagine very many other times. The only other time we see this is with Finri, who is also of similar intellect whenever she's up in Adua. So I think it's a very small scene that I think is in a good way fan servicey and always, and just it's really nice to touch base with Artie in that moment.
That's very well put, Harrison. That's very good. I also like the fact that we can see like the difference between. It's always easy to draw a parallel between Savine and Orso, but the way that Orso was raised is completely different to where he is, and Savine is also the same, because obviously she's not had the whole like pomp and circumstance growing up. She's had Artie as a mother, so she's. It's
bloody peasant.
Yeah, but the way she acts in like everyday society is like the most upright, the most proper. When she's been brought up by a Glocta who probably doesn't give that much of a shit about like outward appearances.
They don't care about propriety.
Whereas also has been raised, by the king and Therese, who's obviously extremely fucking pomp and circumstance. So, and then he's the exact opposite in real life.
That is a very good point. Yeah, no, it's a great point. It's to see kind of like he does so well at the characters raising their kids, but how they differ is what makes it so interesting.
But it's great to see that. Like, I love that this is the first time we really see a Savine loosen up.
Yeah, and so obviously Savine has to leave Artie to drink all the wine by herself, which we know Artie's more than happy to do. And then there's a cutaway where Savine's in her, I guess, her dressing room in her apartment, her building, her living quarters, whatever. And it's her and Zuri and a couple of other, I guess we would call them maids. What we have, Fried?
Right?
I think it's Fried, yeah.
Fried. Fuck it. Let's go with that.
Fried, yeah.
And then we have Lisbeth and then Metello. So these are the different maids that are attending to Savine. I like how they're doing the whole thing where Savine is getting into a corset, I believe, right, George? And obviously corsets are not necessarily
comfortable,
popularized nowadays, but back in the day, yeah, that they were popularized, and they're not comfortable because they squeeze everything. And Fried is squeezing as much as she can, but Savine's like tighter, and so that's my regular voice right now, by the way, folks. And Zuri, she takes over, and Savine's like, Jesus Christ, she's like stronger than Docker.
I love that too. She's like, wow. She's like, man, Zuri had it all. She was smart and kept the books in order, and she was strong as fuck. You're like, I wonder why that is. She also like just places her knee in her back and like pulls on the strings. Like, damn. But also, I like how Savine's whole like Savine does this thing kind of like how Glocta does like this inner monologue. But her inner monologue is very like self-centered right now. And I think it's very interesting to see how, like, between each phase, each scene, she's justifying every single one of her actions to herself, back and forth and back and forth, and weighing it out. And in this case, she's like, this whole scene is, she's very all about appearances and everything, and she's talking about how, basically beauty hurts, and this is basically anybody can be pretty if they try hard enough, and I am willing to try hard enough. That's what makes me different. It's just really good look into her psychology in the scene while everybody's trying to get her ready, and she's just thinking about how to look the best, how to be the best all the time. And to be honest, to a certain degree, she's not wrong. She's just a bit.
But she also acknowledges it. She's like, yeah, some people might say this makes her self-serving, shallow, and poisonous, but that's what you need to do to get by. So,
yep,
that's what you need to do to succeed. You got to be ruthless.
Yeah, she's like the ultimate capitalist. You talk to one of those guys at work who are like pro everything that's going on. They're like, this is just the way of the world. You're like, do you agree with it? Like, not necessarily, but I'm going to be on top. You're like, okay, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And this attitude of like going the extra mile permeates throughout Savine's like entire personality. Like, Zuri's giving her updates about business ventures, and there's this one gentleman, Master Hisselring, is asking for another extension on his loan. And at first, Savine goes, "Oh, poor old Hisselring. It would be a shame to see him lose his house." And then she thinks to herself, whenever she finds herself softening, she thinks about how other people might have something better. As, for example, Lisbeth's cheek had a nice rosy blush, and is one that Savine kind of wishes she had. So she goes, and then she hardens her heart, you could say. And then she tells Zuri, call in the debt. That's like one aspect of Savine's personality.
Yeah. She's this is a really obscure reference, but in Star Wars, Mace Windu has this special lightsaber form where he draws upon the person he's fighting energy, like their the dark side energy, and converts it to good. But she does the same thing with jealousy and little pettiness. She's like, you know what? I don't like that because that makes me jealous. Kill them all. She's just like, she turns pettiness into some kind of like weapon.
It's definitely a good way of getting across how, we can relate to this person, and obviously they're the protagonist, but she's very like spiteful in that way, and jealous of whatever everybody else has. So
yes,
yeah. And then Zuri takes also this moment to inform Savine of another business venture with Colonel Valimir, a familiar name to us.
What do you know?
And his mill in Valbeck. And Savine goes, is he still making a loss? Zuri goes, actually, he reports a large profit this month. And excuse me, ¿qué fue? How does he explain this sudden success? And Zuri goes, he does not. Suspicious. So then Savine's like, okay, Zuri, clear a couple days in the next month so we can go over there to Valbeck. And Zuri goes, I won't be able to attend with you. And Savine, this is one of the first times we see Savine here. She's kind of knocked for a loop. She is lost for words. And then Zuri tells her that things in the South are worse than ever. Some say the prophet was killed by a demon. Some say he overcame her and is recovering from the battle.
The Emperor.
Mm-hmm, we're going to get into that. The Emperor has been cast down, and his 5 sons struggle with each other. The provinces declare their independence and look to their own survival. Warlords and bandits spring up everywhere. It is chaos. Ul Safayin, my family's home, has become lawless. Her brothers are in danger. She has to help them get out. So, do we want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I mean, this is like the first evidence that we get of evidence or knowledge we have of the Gurkish really sent kind of best served cold, or maybe the heroes a little bit with Zuri. But she doesn't really talk about the South. They're just obviously still cohesive. Mm-hmm. Whereas now, this is probably why Zuri's here, but she says her overcame her, like it's common knowledge that there's some crazy bitch going around killing all the eaters.
I think we know who that is.
Yes, that is very, very well known that is most certainly Pharaoh. And that's pretty cool little fact to throw out there. But it's even more interesting too that the fact that it's not known whether the prophet actually died. So I mean, we've all talked about it. I think we've talked about it in a couple of guest spot episodes. Like, man, I would love to have something to do with Kalul. Like, man, that would be so cool. Just because he's a perspective on a lot of things that we have not had at all. We don't need a POV. I don't want to see the guy. Is he like still young? Is he still? I'm so because theoretically he should be, right? Because he's an eater. And if he didn't die, is he like? Does he even care anymore? I don't know. It's so interesting. So that's such a cool little thing that you hear that and you're like, what the fuck is going on down there?
I know. I can't. It's one of the great tragedies that we probably will never get that. Just no, you don't even have to have like a big face off with Pharaoh and Khalil or anything like that. You just need just something, just a little bit. Come
on, Joe. Don't be scared.
Come on, Joe.
You could. No, I'm not gonna say it.
I also do find it very interesting, right? I'll talk about spoilers. When you first hear this, it looks very like you're gonna go by yourself into the South and get your brothers, but like knowing who she is, it's interesting that she's like genuinely concerned about it. Is it just that Glokta gave her a mission, get some more eaters because she's about to go down? Or does she actually care about them? Or is it both? I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things with Ishri Uzuri's character, where her going to the South on her own at this point in time to retrieve brothers who we know are also eaters. There's a lot of speculation there. I mean, there's so many different routes that could be going. But she does seem to be genuinely sad by it, which is interesting as well.
Yeah. And so, go ahead, George.
Sorry, I do like as well, there's a few bits that Zuri says in this chapter. And I always feel like Zuri is sort of under Glokta's influence a little bit more than we even might think she might be. Because
I think so.
All the things she brings up seem to justify what Zavine does. Like and what? It's not just like here, like when it's like the scriptures hold much praise for charity, but they also say the thrifty will enter heaven. Like that's just a reinforcement of what Zavine already believes. Mm-hmm. And I feel like maybe Glokta's gone in like and just said like just make sure she goes this way because obviously Zavine is part of the plan to bring about the great change.
I don't think you think she is.
Well, she's the biggest fucking business person in the union. She controls so much stuff.
But I think Harrison, I think he's saying she's unwittingly.
Yeah, not intentionally, not on her part, but
no, I don't mean for her part. My only contradiction to that is that at the end, whenever she's like, "What the fuck, Dad?" he's like, "I tried to tell you to stay away. I tried to keep you out of it, but you insisted on getting involved and marrying who you wanted to marry and all this stuff." She tried. You know why he married her off to Leo, or that was Artie's plan. But you know why they did that? To try to keep her in England, away from the Great Change. But instead,
no. I don't mean the things that happen later. I just mean up to this point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he definitely, I think, has some. He has a soft spot for her, but he definitely has intention with her doing stuff. I agree with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I didn't make that clear.
No, you're good. Maybe by him sending Zuri away, he thought that she wouldn't go to Valbec, but she did anyways. Maybe that's what his intention was. I don't know.
Maybe Zuri just couldn't be in Valbec either way because she'd fucking tear loads of people to shreds and the game would be up.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Good point.
Yeah. I mean, and then, obviously we have Savine's like, absolutely, whatever you need, I'll make sure you get all the money you need to travel down there. And Savine declares that Lisbeth will be her companion while Zuri's away. And Lisbeth's like, oh, shit, a promotion. And Savine's like, it's not really a promotion.
I love the way that she just specifically hates this one maid. It's like, that bitch.
You know what's interesting now? I love it. She admits it. She admits that it's petty, but it's mostly just because Elizabeth is a dumb, pretty girl. She just can't. She despises dumb people, and she doesn't like that she's pretty.
Yeah. And I also think it's funny how like Fried and Mattel and all of them, they're like, Zuri, there are eaters down there. And Zuri's like, oh, hogwash.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
Now
funny.
we know, oh, you trifling, bitch, you. Um, but
uh,
Savine, obviously tells Zuri to bring her brothers with her, but Savine, it's interesting how Savine realizes that Zuri's like her only friend, her only true friend here, and she pays her,
yeah, that
which
is
speaks to where she's, it's funny how she's so much like Glocta and Artie. Remember how they were friendless, alone for quite some time back then, and now look at her, same, patterns repeat themselves.
That's a good point. Like they're all like self-pitying, intellectual, um, ambitious assholes. You're right. That's well said. They're very much. It's just a repeat. Of course, she's like her parents.
Yeah, and then Hildy comes in. She knocks on the door. Zuri's about to let her in, and at this point, Savine's like, "Oh, you know what? Cancel the dinner, whatever, with the Rucksteads." And Hildy comes in. He's like, "Yeah, the usual place for Master Swarbrick." Wink, wink. Hildy does. Apparently, Hildy has to take her hat off in front of Lady Savine because Lisbeth has now let the promotion get to her fat head, and
It's been like 2 seconds. She's like, "Get your hat off, you little peasant bitch."
and apparently Hildy has like a lot of hair, like blonde hair, and they're like, "Wow, it's good, great locks of hair," and Savine's like, "I'll pay you money for it. I'll give you $3." Hildy's like, "My
$3
hair."
American dollars.
3 marks, whatever. And then Hildy's like, 10, 5. And then Hildy goes, "No, 10 or nothing." And Sabine's like, "Ooh, I like this girl. Give her 12, Zuri."
Which is actually props to Savine. She's actually kind of being sweet here in her own way. Like she's like, "Ooh, I respect that. I'm gonna give you extra money." I don't know.
Yeah. And then she tells Hildy, "Yeah, I'll see Master Swarbrick. I'll be delighted to see him." And then obviously we cut to them just finishing fucking Orso and Savine in Swarbrick's office.
I do want to point out too that she immediately dropped the fact she left Artie. It was like, "I have to go to dinner, Mom."
Mm-hmm.
She got all dressed up, corset and all. This is a very important dinner. She's been talking about it for 2 chapters now. They set it up in the other one, saying that she needs to have a meeting with them. And then she immediately drops it at the sheer mention of being able to see Orso.
Yeah.
Good. It's a good little execution of that.
Mm-hmm. And then she, I should clarify, not to get too graphic, folks, but Orso went down on her, on his half sister, and
He's obviously a pro.
he's obviously a pro. And then she was about to return the favor, and then he goes, "Hold on," he wants to talk first, and she goes, "What?"
She's like, "Gross."
She's like, "No," but she's not like gross. She's like,
I know.
And then so then he starts. So he, obviously, Orso talks to her and tells her about the whole plan. The battalion, 5,000 men, yada yada yada. But he needs money, and he's obviously very, very, I guess, enthusiastic is a good word to use regarding this.
Yeah, he is.
But then, Savine obviously is just like, "I'll give you the money," and he's like, "Really?"
I think that's too in depth to get into her psychology too. Like she goes through the whole process of being like, "Oh, Orso's kind of responsible. Yeah, he's a crown prince, but this is silly. He really shouldn't do this. I really shouldn't trust him in this. Not because I don't like him, but because it's just ill-suited. I'm a businesswoman. I always put business first. No problem, Orso. I'll give you the money. No string." He's like, and I like how Orso he doesn't like take advantage of her or anything. You kind of think maybe he will, but he doesn't. He immediately is like, "Are you sure about that? Do you really want to do that? No strings attached?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I love her inner monologue's like, "What the fuck am I doing?" And she means it. And he's like, "Okay, well, I've got so much work to do. I got to get out of here. I got to go. I got to do something. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you." And then one more time, he goes, "Thank you, but are you sure you want to do this?" And she's like, Go get him.
Yeah, I always say what I mean.
I always say what I mean. And that's I don't know. And then she sits there for a bit, like pondering like what the fuck she's doing. Why would she do that? And then she realizes she's in love with him. Simple as that.
Simple as that. She's absolutely in love with him, and she's like, what the fuck?
Which is great, because that's basically the same way that Giselle realized he was in love with Artie. Not the same way like giving money or something, but like this moment of
not
like
banging a sibling.
Yeah. Giselle was sitting there like, oh man, what's my deal? Why do I feel? Oh shit. Same moment, and I think that's great.
I do like that. Like you said, she just completely acts a completely different way to how she actually, or at least what her inner monologue is telling us. But I like that because maybe she doesn't, get to actually do anything emotional that often. And now that she actually feels this very strong emotion, and this line, which is a giveaway, is, well, you'll have all the money in the world if you can't help a friend. And considering she was just thinking about Zuri leaving and how Zuri's her only real friend, like maybe that all ties together to give us a really good humanizing moment for Savine here.
Well said. Yeah, that's a great point.
Also, a little incest, as always.
A little incest goes a long way, as the kids say. I don't know which kids, but
some of them, probably.
Some of them.
Statistically, somebody has to have said that at some point,
Oh shit.
Oh fuck.
And yeah, so with that, the chapter basically ends with her coming to that crushing realization that she is in love with her, as of right now, unknown but half brother, and this is the one thing that is bringing her weak to her knees, because she's a cold-hearted, calculating capitalist.
Incest.
Yeah, woman, all that stuff.
Person.
But when it comes to Orso, man, she gives up the goodies easy. So with that, boys, how do you rate that chapter?
It's always good to see Artie again. That always brings the points up.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to see characters from the original trilogy that pop up, and they are exactly the way that you'd expect them to be at this point. Almost every character is. So that's always wonderful. Like I said earlier, like it's a really good humanizing moment for Savine, and I don't know. I really like this chapter. I'm going to give this one 7.5.
I concur. Actually, I'm going to give it a 7 and a knuckle as well, because Savine, I think that this is the writing for Savine is, to me, is next level. The writing for Orso, Savine, and Leo. Rika as well, but like Rika's kind of got the shy effect, where she's a good person, so the complexity, even though is less, it does make her less of a good character. But the main point is that Savine is such a complex character that having this moment where she is weak to somebody she loves is setting up the fact that she does become a better person because it's the right thing to do, because it's people she loves and all of that. And and that she doesn't realize that's the kind of person she actually is. She's kind of discovering that. And I think that's set up really well here. She also has the same moment. She's also kind of weakened by that, because Zuri as well. Very humanizing. She realized Zuri's her only friend and all of that. And the setup between, like with Artie and the dinner and them talking about business and the exposition, I think it's just a really, really well written chapter. Sets up a lot. So I totally agree. 7 and a knuckle.
Yeah, I was gonna give it a 7 and a knuckle as well, to be honest with you.
Hey, trifecta.
Love that. In-depth chapter. We basically get like 3 settings, I guess you would say, that Savine's in, and obviously, like George said, Artie always like brings up a chapter a notch, because we just love her. We just love her. We just only wonder what she would think about her daughter fucking her brother. But anyway. Sorry, I'm gonna beat that horse. I'm gonna beat that horse dead. So I'll give it a 7. Well versed, obviously, and then we get, we consistently get deeper and deeper looks into Savine's mindset and now her emotional framework. So, and it's good to see that her relationship with Orso developing. quite this way. So with that, that's our first chapter read through. We'll move on to our next segment, which is our best meme of the week. Georgie boy, that's you. Take it away.
Yeah, so this week we have the Bloody Niner, who has probably done about half of the meme in every chapters at this point. But it's the meme in every chapter for the Machinery of State, which we covered last week. And apparently, even though we mentioned the whole rule of three and everything, this was actually uploaded before we listened to that episode. So that's a mind worm, Everybody thinks the same thing when they read these chapters. And it's I don't know what this film is from, but it's the one where they've all got guns pointed at each other, and it's money, priorities, politics, and then Joe's obsession with the rule of three.
Which is great. It's a really good one. I'm trying to remember what movie that is from. That's kind of confusing.
I know there's so many memes where you see it and you're like, I know the meme, but I don't actually know what the original context is.
Yeah, have I even seen the original film? Do I just know the meme? Side tangent. It's a really good meme.
It is a good meme. And thanks for the call out on that as well, Bloody Niner. We appreciate it.
Love it. Appreciate you, Bloody Niner. So we'll move on to our next chapter read through, and with this, it introduces part 2. George, I know you like to take care of this, so go on ahead.
Oh yeah, and this is Terry Pratchett, and if anybody out there hasn't read Terry Pratchett, you need to read Terry Pratchett because, yeah, you'll love it. And it's progress just means that bad things happen faster.
That is such a good quote.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah. If you love cynical and just very down to earth humor that's absolutely absurd at the same time, then yeah, read Terry Pratchett.
I don't think that Joe puts his parts, set breakups, and themes and all of that in bad places in previous books. But man, this Age of Madness trilogy's little breaks and sections and themes for each part is so well put together. I mean, obviously it's very illustrated in this chapter we're about to read, so unfortunately.
No, you're absolutely right, Harrison. It's brilliant.
Yeah. And with that, we our first chapter of part 2 is full of sad stories. And this is Gunnar Broad's perspective, which automatically makes it sad to just read as a reader. Jesus Christ. Sorry. I think Harrison's a proponent. He's a defender of Gunnar Broad.
We'll get more into that. It's hard to do right now. Well, actually, this is where it starts. Because at first, I agree. He's very weak early on, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it here in a minute.
Yeah. Well,
go on.
So here, he's sweeping the floor of a forge with Sorrelby. And basically, as they're talking, this guy who I guess is overseeing a group of chimney sweeps, as we'll call them, kids that they're responsible for. George,
squad, Jeffrey, squad.
Sorry, George.
Yeah.
This is your country's heritage. So you talk to us about your expertise. So, what does a chimney sweep a kid do?
So they climb up inside the flue and scrub it out with no protection whatsoever.
Now, but they climb from the top in, right?
No, you climb up from the bottom.
Well, that doesn't make sense. Not from this kid. From what happens here.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I mean, I think
something fell down. That's the idea.
Oh, right, okay. Well, that isn't typically the way you do it in real life, but yeah, if you want to climb down.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But
there's a lot of time chimneys have smaller openings at the top to increase the pressure.
All right. So anyway,
the point is,
we'll get into this. We'll get into this.
The main actual point of this is that they've basically bought these kids from what they call pauper houses here, and here in the UK, it's actually taught a lot when you're younger and you're doing history that they used to have these things called workhouses, and it's basically if you couldn't pay rent and you couldn't afford somewhere to live, you can go and live in the workhouse where you just worked for your food and board, and that's it. And a lot of the time, you can't get back out of those places because once you're there, everything that you own belongs to the workhouse. So it's essentially slavery.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
you basically, this chimney sweep buys children and then scrubs them with lime so that they don't burn.
This guy doesn't. He's responsible for overseeing them, but it's whoever else is.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying it's not him. He's a drunk lout. Like he's not buying.
Yeah, I know he's not doing it personally, but he's still.
He's working, but he's also working with Gunner, and he's also working with Sarby and Malmer and all.
Oh no. So the sweep would come round. So he doesn't work for the organization that what is it the brewery.
Something like that.
So the sweep doesn't work for them. They're like that's his own business, and then he goes from business to business and cleans the chimneys.
Yeah, and so
he's whatever.
I do want to point out too.
He's my point.
He's a slave. Yeah, I do want to point out as well with their conversation early on here. I like the conversation a lot because they're basically talking about, I don't know, all the shitty fucking things that the country is doing. You know, like rubbing these kids, like you guys mentioned with lye to keep them from burning up, and obviously they rub them raw, and it's pretty fucked. I mean, we've talked about other things inside the series. You know, we mentioned slavery early on in the Blade itself, because that's what pharaohs had to go through. But this is like this industrial slavery kind of oppression, poverty line. It's pretty bad, and I think that Joe does a good job at capturing that. As we'll see here in just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And the main point is that, you know, that he's like, hey, Salby's like, you need to like look at all the shitty things. You need to join our group. You need to join the Breakers because we could use you. And Broad, surprisingly, is like, no, I'm good. I'm just trying to lay low. I got a better place as an update to his family. We got a little better place on the hill. Now, Liddy's got a job as well, and they're doing okay-ish. They're halfway up the hill. Yeah. And so okay, well, good for you, Broad. That's what Salby's like. You know, he's not jealous or anything. He's like, okay, good for you, but look at all these other bad things happening. Yeah. And I want to point that out before we continue.
Yeah. Because Sarby's over here talking about it. You need to come and listen to the Weaver, man. He's got it all mapped out, man.
Weaver, bro.
And he's like, you got to attend these meetings. And Broad's like, nah, man, I'm all right. And you know, so basically, Sarby's doing that. Before that, like I mentioned before, the chimneys, the fucking chimney sweep leader with a squad of chimney sweeps. Sarby tells them to go to the east side first because these ones, I guess, on this side, on the west side, I guess, just got doused, so they're still hot, still very hot, as hot as the Maker's Forge. And then the drunk guy is like, "Don't tell me how to do my business. I know what I'm doing." Anyway, and then as Sarby is, you know, trying to talk to Broad about this, they're hearing a commotion, and then basically they hear a sound echoing from a fireplace where a cloud of soot had come belching out of, right? And it's one of the fireplaces that they had just doused. And then they hear that it's somebody screaming, and it's a kid. And he says, I can't get out. And Broad and Sarby like, oh, what the fuck? And so they rush to the chimney, and they start basically trying to claw through the mortar. Malmer comes through. He gives them a crowbar. Broad jams it in there. He tries to create a hole in the flue, as you called it, right, George? And I think Sarby had mentioned it earlier, whereas like he feels bad for these kids because they get sent down chimneys. So I'm assuming there's like a steps somewhere, and the kids go down there. But clearly, they went into the wrong fireplaces because they're still hot shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And basically, the kid's not even screaming anymore, just coughing and whimpering. And they're able to kind of like create a hole.
Yeah, Broad's like, you know, he's like basically just breaking through the brick, and Salby hands him a crowbar.
Yeah.
With a little bit more leverage.
Yeah, and so Malmer does, and then basically they're able to they get the kid out, but he's cooked. Literally. Seriously cooked. I mean, his skin is blackened. If it's not blackened, it's reddened, and if it's not either of those, it's basically slowing off. And he's fucking dead as they lay him down.
They try to pull it out, and the skin comes off. It's like,
Yeah.
And then
I mean, this kid is like, he's not even hit puberty yet. He's probably like a 10 to 12-year-old kid.
I looked it up, and the average age for chimney sweeps was between 6 and 9.
So he's probably fucking 7 years old.
You got to be small to get up that flute, you know.
yeah. And apparently the chimney sweep overseer there or whatever, he's there with them now, and he's like, remember we said he's kind of drunk, and then he goes, I thought you said the west side. I thought you said the west side. And he's like, clearly Sorby said east side. We saw this.
Yep.
And Broad is he lifts him up and he's about to fucking just throw him in the chimney. So he suffers, but Malmer calms him down and is like, no, this violence isn't gonna, it's not gonna do anything. There's nothing to be gained here. And they're just looking at the kid now. I mean, Broad lets the guy go, and he's just looking at the burned kid. And then he just looks up at Sorby and Malmer, and he's like, where are these meetings? And that's a chapter right there.
Yeah.
That's a rough one. That's a rough one to get through.
Yeah.
Witnessing the immolation, essentially, of a preteen, we could say.
Oh, that guy got cooked. Yeah.
Wow, George, way to be insensitive to
what were we calling him? Jiminy Chimney?
Jiminy Chimney.
That's his name.
That's fucked up, George.
But this is, it is fucked up, but it's, just another thing in this fucking world that's fucked up,
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, that's the thing too, right? Is that it's not a thing in this in that world. It's in this world. So I don't know. I think that probably, at least the way Joe writes it, this is probably the most visceral thing that in terms of suffering, in terms of tragedy.
It's elevated by the fact that it's desperation, isn't it? To get in, you need to get in before something, and then you have that time, but it just goes. And I feel like that aspect of it makes it far worse. But it isn't actually that gruesome or anything like that. There are several descriptions, but
right. I mean, like, we could think of Shivers getting his eye burned. That was pretty gruesome and like visceral.
I mean, okay, if it was a grown ass person, maybe. Yeah, maybe it's because I'm more sensitive to these things than I used to be. But like the kid aspect, it increases it by a huge amount, at least for me. And then like, if it's a full grown person, they chose their life, they chose their job. This kid, like you just said, is basically a slave, and gotten this sweep, probably just trying to fucking. He doesn't even know what the fuck is going on, and he gets burned alive.
That's fucking awful. I mean, that's what I was trying to say. Was basically like Joe's no stranger to writing scenes like this. Is what I was trying to say. Yeah. But this is definitely a horrifying one. This is a horrifying one as you read it and you think about because you're picturing a fucking kid. And you could see why this would be the catalyst for someone to look to take part in creating societal change.
That's just what I was going to say, and I think that's what this it kind of elevates this chapter above what it would have been, which would have been like a 4. I reckon this goes up to like a 5.5 because Broad has resisted mostly, going into this kind of thing. They've obviously been here a while, and they're getting by, and they're getting a little bit better day by day. But actually seeing something like this happen is a very good inciting incident. So, I'd go up to a 5.5.
5.5 for you. I was actually going to give it a 6, just because of the magnitude, right, of the kid, of what happened to the kid, the chimney sweep, and Sorby. We also get a sense of Sorby is out here, and he's talking the talk. And obviously he fought in the wars alongside Broad, so he's been in the shit. But it's one thing to kind of like repeat talking points, right? And then and obviously they've been working in Valbeck, and they've been downtrodden and everything. But to see something like this happening before them, it's all it affects him, Malmer, and Broad deeply. Even the drunk chimney sweep guy, him too. So for me, it'll be a 6.
I think I was going to give it a 6 as well. it's short, but like it's very impactful. I don't know. For me, it makes me tear up every time, and like obviously it's very visceral and it's done. Joe does it very well in terms of it being something that's not. He doesn't like go over the top with it, right? This is for Broad. It's not because it needed to happen for Broad. It's the fact that it's so unfortunately horribly common in the Union right now at this point that it was inevitable that Broad would see this, and it's just we're seeing one scene.
Yeah.
And I, and I think somebody said this in our Discord, and he said, I think the importance of Broad's character is showing the perspective that we didn't really have before because it wasn't relevant very much, but now it is. And that's basically showing the peasantry. What are they going through? The Industrial Revolution, ground floor. And we do see that the most suffering, I would say, through Broad's perspective. We get these big arching plots, we get these big battles, but really, for the most part, Broad is around the actual suffering.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important part of his perspective. Like you can't just slot Orso in to that. Could Broad be written a little bit better? For sure. I think so. But he does have a role in the story, and that role is to give us that perspective. And unfortunately, it's a pretty depressing fucking chapter.
Yeah, and that's a good point to make, Harrison, because in the original trilogy and even the standalones, the point of views that we get, we could say there isn't the peasantry, but we could say that there are different stratas of different like classes. Even like someone like Logan and Farrell, they're nomads, they're drifters. Tunney is a soldier at the lowest level of the army, a corporal/private. But we didn't really have something known like as the peasantry in this case until this version of the Industrial Revolution. Because before,
I think I think you're right, Jeff, that we never got it, but at the same time, we kind of did.
No, I'm saying we did.
We did, but it was also always played kind of as a joke.
Yeah,
not really, because
whenever we say like in the first trilogy, whenever we get like a peasant's opinion, it's always in front of a council or something,
right? And
it's always like, oh, look how idiotic the council is,
right? But don't forget about like that farmer that Wes met in the first book, and he's just so downtrodden because the Lord is like taxing him crazy or kicking him off the land or something like that. So we've seen it, but there's that extent versus a kid being cooked alive in a chimney. And I think that's what I'm saying. I'm seeing Harrison's point here.
But it's just the fact that once you introduce this large scale machines and fucking refineries and things like that, then people start to die because they've never seen anything like that before and they don't understand how dangerous it is. And there's no education, there's no safety. Obviously, this guy was absolutely pissed and got the wrong side of the fucking brewery.
Yep.
And it would cook the fucking kid alive,
Yeah.
And things like that happen every single day just because there's nobody to answer for it,
Yep. Too big of a change too fast, So that's the end of that chapter read through. And with that, boys, we move on to our character spot. And who else can we shine a burning light on other than good old Crispy McChicken? I mean, what?
Was his name Jiminy Chimney?
Jiminy Chimney. Jiminy Coles.
It's just like
literally barely knew ye. But honestly, guys, for me, like I don't know, we sometimes need these reminders about real life, and like maybe it doesn't happen in modern day in the same way and all that. But like, how many chimney swedes did actually die this way? How many little boys and little girls were put into basically slavery through all of history?
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. Like the only thing that we as human beings can do for the people who died is remember them. So I think it's a character spot, really, just for all those little boys and girls who suffered throughout time. So I know it's a little dark.
Our minds and did all those horrible little jobs that we now have machines to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Jiminy Chimney, no one can hold a flame to you.
Damn you, Jeffrey!
Oh, we hardly knew ye. We hardly knew ye.
Wonderful.
We really hardly knew ye. R.I.P. baby, R.I.P. That's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support means oh so much.
Join us next week as we cover surprises and The Lion and the Wolf.
And make sure you follow us on all of our social media or shoot us an email at suckeroftheworldpodcast@gmail.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts from. And please make sure to rate and review us as it helps. Thank you all again for listening.
And I haven't regretted a day of it.